All right, guys, this is training on the bath keynote. So again, this whole thing is designed to be a tool, right? When you look at a tool, you're not going to use every tool in the toolbox, right? We're going to take different segments of it and be able to use it. So this again is the fill up part of it. We're talking about going through our inspection and finding our needs, our urgency, right? The reasons they called us, what we found on the inspection, and we're literally going to tie these bits and pieces. So when you sit down before you walk through this, we need to kind of have our balanced engineering talk, right? So balanced engineering talk, meaning that we kind of set the tone, right? So, Adam, just to share with you a little bit, man, obviously thanks so much for sharing this in. Looks like to me, just want to make sure that I covered everything that we needed to walk through today, right? You told me we had the grout in through there and you had some of the mold that was coming through the grout. And so you kept cleaning it, kept coming back. So we talked about there possibly being an infection back behind the wall. We talked again about basically water management system and some of the things we're worried about, what's going on outside on the drywall aspect onto it, not to mention how slippery your pan is, and then basically some of the non-negotiables, which you told me, which was the grab bar you needed back in there because a couple close calls you had, and you want to make sure again you feel safe, right?
Yeah.
Did I miss anything that was important to you?
No.
Okay, so great. So just to let you know, man, there's probably 30 plus companies in San Diego. And every single person's going to tell you the best. You ever met a salesperson tell you seventh best?
No.
It doesn't exist, right? It's really going to be one real best, right? So really, who do you trust, right? Because it can be confusing and frustrating to, number one, sit here and listen to anybody if you don't know what to believe, right? So really good for you industry experts tell you really need to pay attention to three critical things when you're looking at basically doing a project like this, right? It's called appearance. Obviously, we want to make sure that whatever bathroom we put in looks like it belongs to the house. We're obviously going to detract from the value, right? If I put a big old plastic mold in where you had that tile, that would look a little goofy, right? You wouldn't consider that. Secondly is performance. Obviously, we want to put something in there that's not going to start reliving the products like you have in now, right? Where you got the problems with the mold and the basic grout, all the stuff coming back to the grout again, the slippery resist. If I put something in that didn't take care of that, obviously it wouldn't be worth doing, right? So you want to do really what you needed to do and make sure we go on from there, right? Because we want to correct the problem. How many times do you do the project?
Once.
Just once, right? So durability, which is the next thing, which is probably the hardest and most difficult to take care of. Basically, because again, if you only want to do this once, it's important that whatever materials we put in there, it can be resistant for the rest of the time you're in the home. 10, 15, 20 years from now, you don't want it to look like it just went through a war, right? You want it to look like it just did on day one.
Correct.
So cool. So my job is the same as yours. Well, do you put together a bath system or shower system that does what you needed to do at a price you can live with and go up there and try to earn your business? That makes sense?
Yep.
So I'm sure you agree when we take you window shopping, or not window shopping, but bath shopping through here, want to make sure, again, when we take and show you the different components on what it can and can't do, if it doesn't do what we need it to do, it's safe to say you wouldn't consider putting that in no matter what the price, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So let me just go ahead and share with you a little bit about the industry real quick, dream style remodeling and how we're different from those. And we'll take you through the options through there. At the end of this thing, we'll wrap up, we'll break some actual samples out, go back in, pick the right color, and then we'll get down to that price that's important to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Great. So again, if you really think about it, right, one of the big things about our industry is it's unforeseen, right? And one of the real things you realize is your home is probably your single most largest and valuable investment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of basic money is packed into this house, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, who do you want to trust your home with, right? The scary thing is, do you know what the most complained about industry of the Better Business Bureau is?
In home improvement.
Home improvement. There you go. You're a smart man. You can read, right? So again, what they tell you last year, there's 11 million complaints just last year alone, right? 80% of those complaints came from people taking the cheapest bid, right? Small Business Administration tells you 96% of all contractors fell within their first 2 years in business. One of every 25 contractors stays in business longer than 10 years. And not to mention newspapers, radio stations across the country. You ever seen 5 on their side?
Yeah.
They got a new story every night about somebody getting taken advantage by a contractor, right? The ripoff report.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, how big is the home remodeling industry, right? Because let's face it, it's a huge industry. It's $350 billion are spent last year on home remodeling projects, right? They said 54% of those, which is 189 million, were doing very new projects for the first time, right? 46% of those people were basically correcting bad projects done within the first year. And that totaled out to be $161 billion of dump tax, right? If you look at it, they say 80% of homeowners taking the largest or the lowest bid had a lot to do with that $161 billion, right? So obviously, who do you trust if you're going to have something done in your house, man? What caused you to choose Dreamstar Remodeling in the first? I mean, what?
I got your the flyer in the mail.
What'd you like the most about it?
Looked like a good deal.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. I think that's probably one of the best ones I've seen. You showed me earlier, right? Yes, congratulations on that. So let me tell you one of the big differences between us and what you're going to find in the industry, right? Is that okay if I do that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
This is where a lot of companies, a lot of homeowners don't understand how a buying cycle and how this whole thing works, right? They look at a gentleman like myself across the table from them and look at another gentleman across the table as two equals, right? Who can give me the best deal is what a lot of people think of, right? Because they're trying to think when you're doing a project like this, it's kind of like buying a television, a couch, a love seat. And then when you get that home, you feel like it's going to operate just that same way, right? Well, if you look at your shower and the tile and all the stuff that embeds into there, do you think when they built that, they ever intended it for it to be replaced?
No.
No. So there's a lot going in to remove that and then put something back in and make sure it all gets there. Not to mention, where do all these products come from, right? Because let's face it, nothing in the buying cycle is ever done till it's manufactured. Would you agree with that? Something's always got to be manufactured, right?
Yeah.
And manufacturers are in it, do you think to make money or lose money?
To make money.
Do you think they're in it to break even?
No.
No, there's profits and there's basically assets and there's liabilities, right? So they're in it for the assets, not the liabilities. So a lot of times manufacturers do is they write warranties out to protect themselves from the contractors, the distribution centers, the trucking companies and the homeowners. Right? Because you think about it, there's more people they feel like out to get them than as homeowners we do. So again, what people realize, the big mistake they make is they think a warranty is written for them and not the manufacturer. And you read a manufacturer's warranty, there's a few sentences of what they cover, and there's a long section of what they do not cover in there, which is longer than what they cover. So you think about those things, there's some major challenges to walk in, not to mention your vendors, aka wholesalers, they work directly with the manufacturers to sell as many distribution centers as they can. That's where contractors go buy their products from, right? And they got to get these as many around the United States as they possibly can because their whole job as a wholesaler, aka vendor, is to keep the manufacturer have a steady flow of orders rolling on a constant basis, right? So what happens real quick, if you think about that distributor, they're the ones who sell the product to the dealer. What do you think the relationship between the distributor and the manufacturer are?
Probably not much.
Probably not much because they got a middleman, right?
Yeah.
So the fact is when they set orders, they set them through the factory, but they've never even met the manufacturer. So what happens is they sell the dealers, aka home improvement companies, contractors, things of that nature. And what happens is, remember, 96% of all contractors fail in 2 years, right? Probably the most untrusted and financially non-savvy industry you're going to find in the whole business world, right? So what happens is every distribution center will loan most of these guys about a $5,000 line of credit. When they do that, the problem is the distributor always wants two pieces of information from a dealer because that dealer doesn't go order anything until he has an order from a homeowner, right? So when he does, they give two pieces of information they require, not want, they require. Number one's called a PO. A PO would be the last name, right? Like Bridges would be Bridges. Shipping address would be your address, right? So what your address is. So at any one given time, there's a distributor, which you've never met before, that has your last name and your shipping address in there, right? It already doesn't make you feel real good, right?
Right.
Next thing you know, once they get your order and they go to that distribution center, they go pick your product up there. Then they hire a subcontractor to come out and install your project, right? If you think about it, throughout that process, do you think the dollar signs got more expensive or less expensive?
Everyone wants a piece.
Yeah, because the vendor wants to make money, the distributor's got to make money, and trust me, he's holding on to a lot of cash, so he wants to make a lot of money. And obviously, the dealer has got to pay the subcontractors. He wants to make even more money on that thing. And if you really think about it back, what did your project? How much do you think the products and services you buy actually cost when they came from the factory?
Not as much as I'm paying.
Yeah, sometimes about 10 to 15 to 20% markup, if not more. Right? So when you look at that thing, there's some challenges to walk through because if you think about it, right? Let's say this dealer goes out of business like 96% of them do. So they install, you think everything's good. Let me tell you a story of what happened to one of my buddies, right? Named David Russell. He's an insurance agent, right? And what happened is he hired a contractor to come in and do seamless siding and gutters on his house, right? And he realized, and then one day he walked home after he had it done. He had a paid in full invoice and lien release, just like a smart customer, right? So he came home from his house one day and he noticed there's a flyer on his door and it was taped to his front door. he's like, what is this? Right. So he walked in, looked, it said CNC Distribution Center on it. And he looked over on the back of it and it said, hey, Mr. Russell, please contact us to have your contractor pay us in full. If not, we're coming back to get the rest of our product. And he says, what? Walked outside and looked at his house. He noticed his downspouts are missing. Well, the downspouts are missing. He goes, what? He goes, what the? He goes, what? So he called them, left a message. They didn't call back. So he called back right away first thing in the morning. He says, hey, I don't know what you're doing. He goes, but I need my downspouts back. You have no legal right to take that off my house. I said, I understand, Mr. Russell, but your contractor has not paid us to date for this project. He goes, well, I don't care what he hasn't done. I paid him in full. I got a paid in full invoice and our lien release. Bring my freaking gutters back. He says, sorry, Mr. Russell, we're not. And not to mention, we've thrown a lien on your property to protect our asset. And David says, what? So what happened is they sued. They countersued each other, went to litigation, right? And what happens when it went to litigation, basically they couldn't work it out in there. David says, I'm right. The distribution says, well, I've never been paid. I'm right. And when they went to the judge ruled in favor of the distribution center. He said, Mr. Russell, may this be a lesson to you. Always be careful with the contractor you choose, because if they don't pay their bills, you're liable for what they don't pay. So David not only paid for his project once, but he had to pay for it twice. And if that were where it stopped, that's it. There was a windstorm that came through where David lives. And that windstorm came and it popped a piece of his siding off, and he needed to get it repaired. He called the distribution center to see if they could send somebody out to repair it. They would for a fee, but it would void their warranty. So when he called back, he said, I'm not dealing with this, right? So then he contacted the manufacturer. And he called the manufacturer, hey, there's something wrong with this siding. And by the way, something's going on with it where it's kind of wavy. Can you come out and take a look at it? I said, yeah, but let me check. We don't have you in our information, but we'll send out a courtesy, somebody out there to take a look at it. So they was like, all right, cool. They're going to take care of me, right? So they came back out. They hired a third-party expert opinion to come out there and take a look at it. So guess what? The one thing they verified when they went out there to look at the siding? Improper installation. So what happens is David's warranty was void due to improper installation. So not only paid for it once, paid for it twice, but now his house is wavy and the siding's falling off his house because it wasn't installed correctly. And the subcontractor, by the way, was nowhere to be found, right? So David had to have all that siding torn off his house and reinstalled with no warranty on it whatsoever. So he paid for it not once, not twice, but 3 times. And David sat on hold more times than you could ever imagine and was frustrated, right? So let me ask you, how would you like to deal with that?
It'd be a nightmare.
Have you ever heard of that happening?
Not specifically, no.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it happens every single day in our industry, right? One of the reasons why Dreamstar Remodeling, especially when it comes to bathroom, we hold that single source accountability. So we work directly with the manufacturer, we deliver, we install, and we warranty all under one roof. So if there's a problem, you've got one source and one number to call if there's a problem. Let me ask you, Adam, how many numbers do you want to call if there's a problem?
One.
Just one, right? Okay. So obviously, when you look at it, insurance is another big deal, right? So if you talk about insurance is one of those things that people don't pay attention to, but realize when somebody steps on your property, you're the general contractor. So if they get hurt on it, your insurance company doesn't cover that. That's called hired help, which means you're the one that would have to cover it if they did not have their own insurance or workers' comp. One of the challenges, a lot of your contractors out there, they pay for the very first month of insurance, and then on February 1st, let it lapse because they don't have the money or don't want to pay that bill. And the bad thing is it looks like their reporting's good for an entire year. So one of the challenges happens if they get hurt, again, it puts you at risk to where you could be legally responsible if something goes wrong, right? Cool thing about Dreamstar Remodeling, we're licensed, insured, workers' comp insurance, right? And not to mention all factory certified installers, so you know what to expect when we're out there on your home, right? So who is Dreamstar Remodeling? You heard a bunch of differences, right? But who is it, right? So coolest thing is we're the #1 full service remodeler in the United States. Basically right through here, we're about a $200 million company. When you look at this, they tell you right through here, Angie's List 2019 Super Service Award, San Diego's best in 2019 and 2020. We're an A+ accredited business for the Better Business Bureau, founded in 1989, America's largest full service remodeler in 2000, basically 2008, 17, 18, and 2019. And I'm almost positive we're going to win that again. 700 plus employees in 8 locations, 6 states, and 67,000 plus satisfied customers, right? And on Google, we're a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on not 10 reviews, 3,951 reviews when this was printed. Now we're well over that. And not to mention Design Awards Top 550. We won that as well as far as best in-house. One of the cool things about reputation.com, rates you on all the social media sites, and it puts you on there. This is based on 3,725 reviews, based on our customer base, as you see on the left there of all in San Diego. We bleed blue, as we have a 4.8 star rated on our overall reputation.com score, right? Pretty impressive, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Any questions about that so far?
No.
So again, one of the big differences you're going to find in here, a lot of companies out there are going to tie up your bathroom for anywhere between 14 to 21 days without use, right? Can you imagine not using your bathroom for 14 to 21 days? Not to mention multiple crews. You got framers, you got drywall, you got finish carpenters, you got plumbers, you got all these people out here that are different trades trying to out there and communicate on one job. A lot of times your job might set on hold for 3 days without any movement. And you're just sitting there looking at your bathroom unfinished, right? How would that make you feel? That'd piss you off, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the cool thing about it, we have most of our jobs generally done in a day to 2 to 3 days max. And again, the cool thing is all of our people are W-2 employees. We're not subcontracting 1099 on the work, right? They're all on our payroll and benefits, are drug tested, fingerprinted, and everything in there, again, gives you that single source accountability. Any question about Dreamstar Modeling so far?
No.
Okay. So far, price aside, sound like as far as just the company itself, would you feel 100% confident, trust we could do a great job for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So as far as Dreamstar Modeling goes, I mean, that's one thing. Now let's talk about the industry real quick, right? Cost versus value. You ever heard of this magazine before?
No.
No? Well, what cost versus value does is they give the average range of what to expect to pay on a project, right? So they say to do an average 5x7 bathroom, just replace fixtures, 30x60 porcelain tub or steel tub, basically, standard white toilet, solid surface vanity countertop, ceramic flooring. They give you a mid-range price, and they give you an upscale, which is obviously a little bit larger bathroom, up to 100 square foot inside there. And this is basically replacing all fixtures, frameless shower enclosure, the whole 9 yards. What they tell you is the major difference when you walk into it. And just to show you how things gradual over time, right? I had one customer the other day said, you know what? I've had to put this project off for the last basically 6 years just because of money. Now things are better. I said, wow, you know, that's pretty good. I'm glad things are better for you. But let's look at what some of the prices were back in 2004, right? It's like 2004, which was 15 years ago or 16 years ago now. Look at it, basically a bathroom remodel, if you follow that down, was approximately, to do a mid-range remodel, was $9,861 for a full mid-range remodel. That's about 90.1% cost recouped, right? If you look at the upscale, it's about $25,273, which is 85% cost recouped on your money, right? So $25,000 to do the upscale remodel. Not so bad, right? Mm-hmm. If we look at it today, the mid-range bathroom now in 2020 is $25,540, right? The upscale bathrooms all the way up to $77,761 on the universal design is $39,821, right? Look at the Pacific. How does that compare to the rest of the Western Coast, right? Pacific region, $24,000, $75,000, $39,000. And the national average is $9,000, $377,000, $67,000, and $34,000 to do those projects. And the cost recouped only goes down as you get further in the Midwest, right? Does that surprise you that bathroom models cost that much today?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot of project now though too, right? So how does this break up? When I look at sections of the bathroom, I mean, what section gets you what, right? So phase one, obviously we looked at your bathroom, you had XYZ going on, right? So you got your bathroom area, then you got your vanity, you got your tub, you got your shower, you got your flooring, right? Mm-hmm. So if we were to tear everything out, they tell you this is about approximately how they break this all out, right? They say the average mid-range bathroom in San Diego is $25,540. They say the tub shower area is generally about 60 to 65% of that overall cost, right? So phase one tub and shower is approximately about $15,324, depending on what you choose inside there, plus or minus some. The toilet's about $700. The painting, the wall, the painting and mud's about $1,000. Electrical about $1,750. Flooring's about $1,800, $2,600, and the vanity's about $2,500 to $3,500, depending on what you pick in there as far as that type of stuff goes, right? So again, the majority of the cost is where?
In the tub.
In the tub. And that's where all the skilled carpentry happens because that's where all the water management is, right? Mm-hmm. So we look at it. Some of the common issues, what puts people into this, and you had shared with me a couple of things about difficulty to get over the side of the tub now. And you want to make sure that grab bar's in there so you didn't slip and fall, which is one of the reasons we're looking at going to the shower.
Yeah.
Just like you, a lot of people said that when they commonly, basically surveyed people, they said high threshold to stand over was one of the biggest common safety issues, right? Loss of balance entering or exiting or entering the bathing area, difficulty to reach, bending down, basically difficulty standing for long periods of time, right? Without basically getting able to sit down, holding on to walls and accessories, and then obviously wet, slippery surfaces. And from what you shared with me earlier, where you had that close call, and then your mother-in-law came in and had a slip and fall also, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when one of these things affects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, what do you know what to expect, right? So again, according to the Disease Control Center, 65 seniors, 65 plus, they said 1 in 3 fall annually, right? 2.3 million recorded falls annually, and 52.4% sick statistic of those of deaths are due to a fall, right? 52.4% of deaths are due to a slip and fall. If you think about it, that's pretty scary, right? Not to mention last year, 662,000 Americans were patients that were hospitalized due to falls. Pretty scary number, right?
Yeah.
And not to mention, I've ran into some people. Now, this isn't California's number. This is annually national. They tell you remaining independent probably is crazy. The right upgrades can keep you in your home a lot longer. And let's face it, right? Can you put a value on being in your home?
No.
Could you imagine slipping and falling, breaking a hip, and being stuck in an assisted living facility?
Sure.
Be horrible, right? The quality of life goes down, and sometimes they call that place the beginning to the end. And you don't want to be sitting there in a graveyard waiting for stuff to happen, right? You want to be proactive.
Yeah.
That's part of what doing this is. They say the annual cost is about $41,000 per year. That might get you in San Diego probably 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? So again, let's look at options, right? We kind of talked about balanced engineering, appearance, performance, and durability. If there's any of these you walk through you wouldn't even consider, let me know, okay?
Okay.
But again, the first option is what we call plastic wall systems. This is something like you're going to go buy at the box store. It's about $7,100 to $10,200 to put a plastic wall system back in your house. When you look at that, really what they do is they tear it out, keep your existing tub, and then just put a plastic wall surround in, and generally just a new tub you'd buy from the box store in there. And that's about the range onto it, not to mention a lot of the materials are there, and it's a very porous material. As you see some of the corner pictures around there, it wears and tears, and generally it's held together with caulk, right? Based on fast forwarding 6 months from now, is that something you would want to look at in your house?
No, we want to fix the problem with the grout right now.
Yeah, you don't want to add it, right?
Correct.
That looks like hell. So next, which is a pretty popular option, is something called culture marble, right? This really, they can form this stuff into looking a lot nicer off the start, but it always ends up turning into what you're looking at right now, right? The marble dulls over time and it increases with use. Basically, it has high tendency for spider cracks. You ever seen, like, when you're a kid, you ever walk into, like, it looks like those countertops where it looks like they're a shell on the countertop in your bathroom where you go wash them at grandma's house, right? Yeah. Around there, around the faucet, around the drain, you'd see all these big holes and cracks that go around there, right? Or like sometimes in the tub, you would see where it looks like spider cracks are happening. That's one of the big things about culture marble. It doesn't do well with shock. So Adam, you're not a small guy, right? So if you're in there and you happen to step real hard on it when it's hot or cold fluctuation, that could really crack that whole beam, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to that might not be a good situation for you to put inside that house anyways, right? So $6,100, $10,200, obviously I don't think that's going to give you the right appearance either, right?
Correct.
Okay, next is fiberglass. Now, this is what you call your do-it-yourselfer, your builder grade, your contractor fix, right? These things look decent out to start. You ever been into Home Depot and look at those big shells they come into?
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Or when you go into like apartment complexes or things like that, they're big old molds that walk into it. Mm-hmm. That's what pretty much fiberglass is, man. A lot of your contractors use it because it's cheap. It's cheap and fast. So this project cost you about $4,500 to $6,500 installed. The challenges with this is very porous, right? You see like that, I think you had something similar going on in your bathroom on the floor where it's very hard to keep that clean.
Yeah.
And almost immediately within a week after you cleaning, it was right back again.
Yep.
The problem is being porous, right? You know what the word porous means?
Little holes.
It's little holes, right? So you think about like your skin,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your skin has pores in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we basically walked outside and we're walking around outdoors, and even if I just got done taking a shower and then I went on a walk and I came back from that walk and I put one of those Biore strips on my nose and I tore it off, what would be covered in the Biore? What would be covered all over that Biore strip?
Little blackheads.
Little blackheads and all the pores in your nose, right? It's literally bacteria. So if you think about a shower, all that stuff you see on the ground, that is dirt, that is feces, that is bacteria, not just from you, but anyone else that's ever used that shower, right? So one of those things about pores is you see when I tear that off my nose, you see what comes out. Think about every time you bathe in a bathtub or every time basically you step in a shower, all that bacteria is resurfacing again, right? So you're literally bathing or showering in other people's bacteria constantly, and there's no way to actually get that clean.
Gross.
Right? So if you think about it, fiberglass bathtubs or fiberglass showers are the number one cause of athletes' feet and yeast infections. So if you think about it, two not very fun things, right?
Yeah.
And the bad thing is after 6 months, it's almost impossible to get them clean, right? If you ever been in a bathtub where you see like pink streaks going inside of it, growing in, that's actually bacteria growing inside the surface of your bathtub, right? Does that sound like to me that that's something you'd want to choose inside your house?
Not a chance.
Not even close, right? That even makes sense. Next is tile. Cool thing about tile, dude, you can make and put this in all kinds of different scenarios, situation. You got tile in your house now, right? The new tile, you can get some pretty stuff, man. The only challenge is with tile is basically it's going to cost about $10,200 to $30,600 for a basic shower system. The challenges roll into it breaks down in phases. A lot of people don't realize this. I mean, based on the time you guys have owned the house, how many times have you sealed your grout?
Maybe once.
Maybe once. You've owned the house how long again?
10 years.
10 years, right? Did you realize you're supposed to reseal your grout once a year?
Wow.
Right? So we're going to go ahead into the phase. You can guess what phase you think you're in, right? So phase one, grout's discoloring, retaining moisture, and starts after sealant breaks down, usually after 1 year, right? Basically, phase two, mold starts to grow and it's visible, requiring killing on a regular basis, but it always comes back, right? Didn't you state that was what you're kind of dealing with now?
Yeah.
So at least we know we're in phase two, right?
Yeah.
You know, phase three, as we look at here. Well, before we get to phase three, I want to show you this picture. I forgot all about this one, right? If you look at the wall on the right, that looks pretty clean, right? Look on the wall in the back on the left-hand side of it, looks pretty clean too. What we did, we took this picture to show you. We were just chipping some of the tile off it to get to the board back behind it. You see what's covered all behind the tile?
Yeah.
It's growth.
Yeah.
Right? So we got that mildew and that mold growth happening all back behind it. So sometimes in a bathroom, it's not what you can see, it's what you can't see that's a big scare, right? Because again, that surface mold may be a bigger sign of hidden mold, which could be wall structure and damage the walls, right? So phase three, what you really don't want to let it get, walls are saturated with water, mold is growing behind spreading tile and cannot be cleaned. In phase four, tiles are literally falling off the wall, mold is spreading outside of the wet area. Generally, there's major structural damage to the home, right? So I'd say you're probably, in my opinion, would you say you're between 2 and 3?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And it's safe to say we knew it's got to be replaced anyways. So let's talk about another good alternative, right? There's marble and granite. You ever seen this stuff up close before?
Just in like upscale hotels.
Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to Vegas and it might look somebody's throwing up all over the place, but one of those things that is cool because it's rich and luxurious look, it's durable, right? But one of the challenges is porous. Just like we want to get away from the porous, which means it stains easily, right? Installation takes weeks and it's so freaking heavy, right? Trying to get this through the house without bending and breaking it is almost impossible. It's really designed to be put in the house before it was built. Not to mention there's no warranties, 30 seconds or 30 feet. Basically extremely expensive. Slabs are very heavy, could weigh hundreds of pounds per slab, right? You ever picked up a little piece of granite countertop before?
No.
Yeah, a little piece like this probably weighs 30 pounds,
Wow.
right? So you take a big old slab that's going to go on a wall, that is gigantic, right? And not to mention it requires annual sealing, not inherently waterproof, and it needs special cleaners that cost an arm and a leg to do. And the average cost is $30,000 plus. Now, if you didn't have to maintain it, that might be a good look, but are you into maintaining, knowing what you're dealing with now?
No, that's one of the main reasons we want to get ours replaced.
Yeah, that's not what we want to deal with, is that right? So just to beware, I always say buyer beware, because there's people out there that advertise things all the time, but it's not really what you see is what you get. It's kind of what we call bait and switch, right? A lot of companies do this, is what we call in the window industry retrofit companies. There are also bathroom companies that work in that same way. Let me show you a quick video. This is going to range about 6,500 to 12,500, really, to do what I call put a Band-Aid on. See all that nasty stuff?
Home and bathroom in just one day. It's easy and affordable with bath wraps. Go from unbearable to beautiful. A bath wraps bathroom is custom made in the US.
Look at that stuff, man. All that mold's still there growing.
They don't replace it, or they don't remove the mold.
No.
And to complete, just spray and wipe. Your new bath wraps bathroom will be beautiful, mold-free, and watertight for years to come. No more cracked tiles or drought.
So now what they're showing you is they've just pretty much, they're covering up over the top of it, right?
It's still there.
Yeah. So now they've locked the moisture in, and now you don't even know what's going on back behind your wall, right? So when you look at that mess, they're trying to sell you on how pretty it's going to look. But the problem is, if you don't address the fundamental reasons and concerns on why it failed in the first place, are you really fixing a problem?
Lipstick on a pig.
That's exactly right. Based on any of those alternatives, is that anything that you would want to put inside your house?
Absolutely not.
No. So let me show you a little about what Dream Style does, right? I'm going to show you, we got a couple different options for you. First, I'm going to show you what our most popular option is. And then if really you don't like any of those options, then we'll bring in some secondary options I think you're really going to like, right? But again, what's Tyvarian by Dream Style is one thing that we're pretty proud of. I'm just going to show you a quick video of kind of what it looks like when this is made. So you kind of get a general idea of the amount of quality and craftsmanship that goes into it.
Okay.
Looks identical to marble. Let me show you what it is in a second. Some of that epoxy coat, man, this is so cool. And they roll it on there kind of like as a protective coat on the top of it. I'll show you how this benefits you a little bit. Freaking gorgeous stuff, man. So one of the cool things here we kind of look at is, what is Tyvarian, right? It's basically the Tyvarian's a product unique to the bath solutions, with new technology that incorporates high definition images into basically cultured marble. So what they do is the mixture between it is Tyvarian, is a process that looks exactly like natural stone, right? Gives you the look of granite, travertine, onyx, other designs in both matte and gloss finishes. You'll love our stylish new designs, the durability and ease of maintenance, right? Your design capabilities. I mean, we can do all kinds of cool designs. We'll get into a few pictures we'll show you in a few minutes. And ability with the high definition images, our designer, we have a lot of designers who use this to go into high-end upscale businesses. And there's a couple big benefits to it, right? We look at it, number one, it's super durable, right? I love this. I'm just going to read this to you because it's so impressive. I can't do a better job explaining it, right? So it says Tyvarian is a product that brings art and innovation to bathroom services. Not only does Tyvarian provide additional style and color, it has rock solid tests showing it passes grade or a passing grade on industry tests, including scrubbability and UV resistance. Sandpaper and UV light are no match to Tyvarian and won't worry about colors or fading or any basic or colors or fading or scrubbing anything away. We take the industry standards very seriously. This is why we have gone through the effort of necessary testing done to ensure compliance of these standards. The first test is we conduct a scrubbability test. This is 10,000 cycles to see how much color lost after 10,000 cycles of scrubbing. In order to pass this test, you have to have less than 5% image loss after 10,000 cycles of scrubbing. So literally taking sandpaper and rubbing basically sandpaper on this for 10,000 cycles, and it has any more than 5% degradation, it's considered defective, right? So again, basically, Tyvarian has absolutely zero color loss. The second test we conducted is UV test. This is a 200-hour test that mimics 10 years of sunlight exposure. Tyvarian also passes flying color. In addition to formal tests we conducted, we also put a sample on top of a roof that after a year compared it to another sample that we left in a drawer. It looked virtually identical. Tyvarian is creating a lasting impression and performance beyond expectations, right? So we look at that. That sounds all good, Dustin, but what's the warranty, right? So the cool thing is Tyvarian has a lifetime finish warranty, right? There's up to 80 different colors available. It looks identical to stone with not even close to the same amount of expense. Basically easy to clean, moisture and mildew resistant, grout-free surfaces, scrub resistant, and basically UV resistant and environmentally responsible. Means that we're not basically bringing things into your house that have those crazy chemicals, which you don't want to be breathing inside of it, right? Not to mention, there's no maintenance. Besides wiping it down with water and basically a squeegee, you don't have to use abrasive cleaners, anything like that to get it clean. And the best thing, unlike marble or granite or travertine, there's no sealing. So literally is something that is basic maintenance. Just cleaning your shower once every little bit is all it's going to take to keep that thing looking perfect for the existing time you ever live in the house, right? Any questions on that so far?
No.
Now remember the faucets we chose from Kohler?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Every Kohler faucet is inspected by hand, and Kohler finishes last up to twice as long as basically the industry standard, right? One of the reasons we shared with you earlier is they use those smooth ceramic discs rather than the plastic grommets like you buy from the box store, right? So again, it allows those things as they compress them up to basically 8 million cycles without fail. So the cool thing is you can have the ability to know that this shower could be in here for 10, 15, 20 years, and you're not gonna have to worry about a leak as you didn't have to after on day one, right? Actually, the longer it's used, the better it operates. And that's pretty unnerving, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention, they guarantee the finish for a lifetime. Backed by that, which is the most important things we talked about, manufacturers have a warranty to protect themselves, right? Against the logistics companies, against the distribution centers. We get all of our stuff shipped directly from Tyvarian to Dreamstyle. And we have an exclusive partnership. We're the only place in Southern California you can buy this product. And not to mention, with our installers being basically certified master installers for Tyvarian, it's the only place you can go to get a guarantee on the labor, right? We give you not only 100% guarantee on the lifetime for the lifetime you own the house on the labor, but we give you 100% lifetime no leak warranty as well, right? So again, with Dreamstyle, Tyvarian, and Kohler all put together, offering you that full lifetime warranty on your product inside your bathroom. You ever heard anything like that?
No.
So that sound like the type of company or the type of warranty you would be expecting when you do this project?
I mean, that's great. Yeah.
So with everything I shared with you, man, would you feel 100% confident, trusting we do a great job for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I would trust you.
Good. Well, let's go ahead and you think or you know?
I know.
All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. I'm going to break out some samples and show you what those look like, so we can start picking some designs out.
All right, excellent.
Okay. All right, we're ending that.